Hi, my name is Michele Odhner, and I teach at Spruance Elementary School. I'm the general music teacher there. I've been at Spruance for 7 years. This is going on my 8th year of teaching, and I just started with Music in the Brain a few months ago. Once we got the keyboard lab set up, it was super exciting for me and my coworker just to see that room set up. And when students walked into the room, their whole demeanor changed. Was one of the first things that was really awesome about starting the program, was just the physical layout of the room and the kids coming in, and all of a sudden it was like they were now responsible for their learning. They knew that something special was going to happen. So that was sort of the overall first impression for teachers and students. And then I had been doing rhythm flashcards with students prior to coming and practicing our right and left hand and our finger numbers. So they were really ready to go and excited. And so as we got into the book, it was really fun just having them look through the book and starting to make connections between their own body and working with the keyboards, and then making that connection between what we were doing here physically and on the page. So that was another really fun moment for the kids. Other first impressions. I love the materials online or on Google Drive. One of the things I liked to do to split up my room with the older kids was I had some kids, when they were ready to go to keyboards, be at the keyboards, and we did the videos of rhythm flashcards, which is really fun, change for them. So just having a variety of materials was fun. So the structure that came into the classroom of the program was awesome. Not only did students see that there had to be a procedure to coming to the keyboards, when to put headphones on, when to turn their keyboards on, but just knowing that the work we did before coming to the keyboards was just as important as coming to the keyboard. So there was a very clear process of, this is what we're doing today, look at this piece that we're learning, let's practice it, let's talk about it, let's clap the rhythms, let's sing it. Oh, it's about frogs, what kind of noises do frogs make? There's a whole bunch, the historical context. And then when they got to the keyboards, there was such a great focus, and there was never enough time in the lesson. So with kindergarten, I had a class that I would see multiple times a week, and other kindergarten classes just once a week. But the class I had 2 to 3 times a week just almost retained everything that we did, and not just retained the information about, is this song for the right hand or left hand, or is this a quarter note or eighth note, or anything like that. But when they got to the keyboards, they transferred that information beautifully, and there was a huge difference between just that once a week to the 3 times a week. And I had one student in particular who was struggling with some home life, was not getting enough sleep. This particular little boy would fall asleep every class time, and so we started asking questions and figuring out he was staying up at night, and talking with the family. Some changes were made, and one day when that kid was well rested, he came up and learned 3 or 4 songs in a row, and then performed for class within a 45-minute period. It was so cool.
That's amazing.
It was really awesome.
Amazing. Wonderful.
Yeah. Personally, having some piano background, working with the program, it was really fun and easy for me to jump back into this material. And what I really thought was awesome about the books were just how simple they were in terms of the layout, because you're used to seeing like Alfred, for example, that has all these other things on the page, and it was really interesting to me to work with that and and see that the simplicity and the work beforehand eliminated the need for that. So that was really cool. I had been a little bit worried about teaching piano, but Music in the Brain is a comprehensive music lesson, and so my fear of teaching piano and all these techniques that my mind jumped to kind of were erased, and it just flowed beautifully. So a couple things come to mind. Working with my 8th grade boys, were pretty skeptical about learning these songs, but I found that some of my most challenging 8th grade students, 7th grade students, once they allowed themselves to spend some time and settle in to participating a little more, they then all of a sudden had to be the star of the class and had to have the last 5 minutes to show everyone what they can do on the keyboard. So that was really cool. My middle school girls had some issues with their nails being done all the time, and so they went from just, I can't even play anything on the keyboards, to figuring out how they can get around that, or coming next time and their nails are cut short and they are working on their technique. So it was fun to see those kind of things ironing out, and that they could do it. I think the sense of self-accomplishment that the kids had after just a few lessons was a big difference from them being skeptical, particularly my middle schoolers. My younger ones just adapted very well, but the middle schoolers, once they settled in, they definitely loved that they could accomplish doing something like that. None of them had ever, I don't think, maybe I could count on one hand how many students I have, over 700 students in a week, had ever played piano before. I definitely structured things a little different for middle school. We incorporated a lot more of learning what all the buttons do on the keyboard, because that was inevitable. But yeah, those background beats, oh yeah,
that helps.
They had a ball.
They love that. They love that. That's wonderful.
Just with working for 2 months with the program, focused on the structure and what I wanted to do when. But I did thoroughly read the beginning of the manual, and I just am so impressed with the belief system of teaching music that Music in the Brain has, that here are all these benefits of not only learning music, but what learning an instrument does to the brain, and how to structure a classroom in the best way for students was probably the most succinct classroom management I've ever read. And teachers, we have to read a lot of these management books, so I really appreciated just the little management tips of try this, or students learn best when, and those things were really helpful.
Yeah.
So I have tended not to focus so much on notation. Just really, I'm more of a doer myself, and so I've just taught more through movement and performance based. But with the rhythm cards, I've been getting a lot of great questions. Why are the stems up? Why are these notes upside down? What is that? What is that symbol? This is a rest. Well, what's that other little thing? That's also a rest. So I'm really excited about moving forward with more notation, and it's been really funny and interesting to see the kids who get it right away. Well, the notes are on top of the staff, so it's the right hand, and just can't believe how some other kids are still totally lost with what hand, or the other thing about the student book that I love is that all the pieces for left hand are on the left side of the book and the right. And when I pointed this out to the students, they just were like, wow, that's great. That's it. That's all I needed to know. Awesome. Forget about the red and yellow and all these other things. And finally one day I was like, in your book, and they were blown away by that. I think second grade was particularly like, oh, duh, that makes so much sense, Mrs. O, like, you know. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to starting at the beginning of the school year, setting up every little piece of tape and everything perfectly, for sure, but also just seeing how far the kids can go in the curriculum, just how much they're able to accomplish in the year. I'm really curious to see what foundations I've laid versus what they're coming in with versus just all little tips and tricks of the program and what they end up being interested in. Do they like this piece more than another piece? So I'm just curious to explore with it. Yeah, it'd be great.